Hi, I'm Panda Hershey with Your Full Expression. Welcome to the October 19th Coffee and Charts call, where we talk about getting to the heart of the matter. The Mercury portal in Virgo and Libra just completed a few days ago, and I hope you learned a lot about your relationships and what you need to do and what needs to be done on both sides to have an appropriately balanced one. We also talk about how you are ready to take that important information that has been coming to you and applying it with all of your tools and wisdom between now and January. And as Saturn begins to move forward starting on October 22nd, it may be time to let some things go, just like you did in the beginning of the year. As always, we'll watch the movement of the planets, and I'll point out some key days to pay attention to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, welcome. And I am going to start sharing my screen. So, for those of you on the replay, we were just talking about how the Mercury portal completed, and that I hope you all had something useful revealed to you about yourself in relationship in terms of the work that you need to do and your ability to communicate that to people when you needed to, and to trust yourself. So here we go with the Mars retrograde still, or the pole portal. We're going forward, we're gathering information, and if there's something that is really touching your heart these days, ideas, words, details coming in, we've got time to work with them. So just sit with that and we'll see what happens. Okay, so here we are on October 19th. So we have some new people today. And so just to orient you, this is a generic chart that is at noon in Berkeley, so today. And this chart is, you're going to see, we're going to go day by day, but Aries and Pisces, that border will stay in the same spot, but the planets will move. And they move in this general direction. Here is the sun. Here's Venus, Mercury, the moon, which will zip along very quickly. And Mars here will barely move because it's about to station retrograde. And all the larger planets just happen to be on this side of the chart. And they barely moved all year. So as we go through, I'll kind of speak to what's happening, and we'll be able to have a chance to watch it again without my talking. So here we are today, and here's Mars here coming to the end of its portal on the 30th, and Mercury having completed that passage through its portal between Virgo and Libra. And here are Venus and the Sun. So on the 22nd, in 3 days, Saturn will stop going backward and start to move forward. And this has been in retrograde since early June. So from then until now, it's been a time to integrate whatever we released in the first part of the year. Maybe we let go of a job, of relationships, of activities we just didn't need to do anymore. And we get a second round of this, things in our lives that just don't serve us. And when we get to the retrograde portal guide, it'll be a reminder of what area of your life this is in. But we look at that area and ask, what feels heavy and weighty? What needs to be let go? What isn't serving me anymore? And it will take a little bit of time for it to kind of kick in and start to act on it, because it won't happen overnight, but it will become apparent that there's something likely in your life to let go of again. And you already did it in the first part of the year. So it's a time to do a little bit more. Cleaning house. Also in 3 days, Venus here will cross over the sun. And so from here, for a little while, you'll see just Venus continue to get further and further ahead of the sun. That gap between the two of them will continue to increase. And what I think that is going to mean, especially in moving into Scorpio, of being in touch with another person's feelings and co-creating, is we're going to have these invitations, these opportunities to let down our guard and trust someone. And in those early stages, we can cast the funnel wide and take a little bit of a gamble. But then with Mercury behind, it's so important to reflect on what actually happened and decide, am I really going to trust this person? Just because I trusted them one time, I, may choose not to, or I didn't know what to expect. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. I'm going to dig in with this person. So it can go either of those ways. On the 25th, we have the solar eclipse. We will not be seeing it because it happens at 4 o'clock in the morning, but we do get the lunar eclipse. So new moons are the basis for these solar eclipses. And it happens when the moon crosses in front of the sun, passes over the sun, just on this kind of schematic. It's, I think, an interesting day. I think what it will feel like is needing to trust someone, almost having to. It's like you'll get the invitation the day before, come do something with me, and you'll feel like you have to go try it. And so again, especially if you have something at 2 degrees in your chart, go with it and then think about it and see what happens. Oops, sorry, going backwards there. And then on the 30th, Mars stations retrograde at 25.5 degrees. And as we'll talk about a bit when we get to the Mars page, but you'll see that this is barely moving. And frankly, for about a month, Mars is in this very tight range of about 1.5 degrees, of 24 to 25.5 degrees. And so the same topics and the same excitement or frustration may be with us for that time, especially if we have something at that degree in our chart. And you guys can look to your table and take a look. And it's a time to really sit with it. And even though Mars starts to go backwards, it will take about 2 weeks for us to feel like we're moving away from that energy. If you've ever hiked up to really high elevations, like at 11,000 feet, when you get up there and have to start coming down, like that first step down is still tough because you just are dealing with the lack of oxygen. So it's the same kind of thing. It's this journey down and away from that point that will take a little bit of time, but it will start to feel better. And then we meet again on the 2nd. So I'm going to go backwards. And we'll watch that one more time and I will not talk. A couple options on what to watch is you can watch the moon zip across here. You can watch Venus cross over the sun and get a little bit further away. One thing also is that Mercury is starting to catch up to the sun, so the gap between the two will close. And we know when Mercury catches up to the sun, it's more like the doing and the talking happens more quickly, and there's less space in between that. So just a couple things. Okay. So I always love that stuff. And I'm figuring out different ways to animate this so that I can kind of play in the background while I'm talking, but hopefully next time. Okay, so moving on to your retrograde portal guides. This is, remember that Pluto energy of like taking all our tools and wisdom and making something happen in some part of our lives. For me, it's in my 10th house. Here we are, having station direct a little while ago. It should finally feel like you're ready to start doing stuff. Like it's time. Finally got my stuff together. I've got the information I need. Let's get going. And this is kind of the last time I'll talk about it in this format until we get into the Capricorn energy. But remember, this is kind of your underlying energy until January of doing this. And so even though I'm not talking about it, always this is something that you're trying to do, and everything is in service to making this happen. So just a few more questions of what did you learn from the first time, from January to April? How are you going to deepen it? You are older and wiser now. You maybe have different allies. And just thinking about what are some small steps? Is it picking up the phone? Is it doing one thing, one small thing? And those things accumulate to progress toward whatever it is you're trying to make happen. So the Saturn portal, releasing in some part of our lives what no longer serves us. For me, it's here in this 10th and 11th house. The definitions are in the back of your guide. For me, it's letting people go, letting groups go that are not in service to where I'm headed. And maybe letting go things that I used to do in the way I impacted the world that I don't need to do anymore. So as this starts to kick in and move forward, and we start to recognize still some existing weightiness in this part of our lives, we can start releasing those things between now and the end of January. And so the Mars retrograde portal, the retrograde, you'll probably start reading about it in the internet now because we're getting closer to it. But really, if people have been paying attention since September, what is happening, what they've been thinking about, would have recognized all these things. So it starts retrograding on the 30th. And these questions I still think are good. Sometimes I write them at the beginning of the year and I feel like I have no idea what I'm talking about. But nicely, don't push any further on issues. Recognize who is listening to you. Gemini is about what's in our mind. It's about our noticing details and having ideas. Often we're processing, and who is processing with me? Who is helpful in my processing? What is the most important idea or detail that needs to be refined or approached in a more effective way? And especially now, who can I trust and co-create with to get these ideas into practice? And is there another path or something else I need to try? And that will be during the whole retrograde, is how do I take this information and work with it? Is there another way? And usually finding that other way will require other people in our lives to do that. So recognizing who your team is important. And if you've got something in this range from 24 to 25 and a half, the next 3.5 weeks are going to be intense. So just make sure you have an outlet for expressing how you're feeling. So kind of bring all of this together. I feel as though the Mars retrograde is dominating what's going on. you're becoming aware of some really important details that will, I'll say, inform the work that needs to be done, especially between now and January. And for the next 2 weeks, especially, you're searching for the people that you can work with, that you can trust. So casting the net wide for now, because we will be in those early degrees of Scorpio. Just checking people out, and people who you might not have thought of, or giving people another chance and just seeing how it turns out. And the plan, how it all comes together, will be, I think, with the next Mercury retrograde, which runs over the same degrees as the Mars retrograde, but in Capricorn. And Capricorn, remember, is like pulling everything together, applying all the tools and wisdom. So if you get all the information, that's when you get to apply it. It's starting to think about it in December into late January and early February. Okay, so just kind of walking through that. In 3 days, Venus will be crossing over the sun. It'll be right here in this last bit of Libra into Scorpio. So our opportunities to co-create are going to come, and please try them out. But the key thing after that is reflecting on what happens and taking notice. The same day, Saturn stations direct. So in that part of your life, you look for what's heavy, what just needs to go. And you don't have to let it go overnight. You have time until January, and actually a little bit beyond, but really think about what needs to be released. On the 25th, we have that solar eclipse at 4 a.m. So you don't need to get up. And it's a time where you feel like you have to take a chance on trusting someone or working with someone, and just seeing what you can do together. And you get to watch and reflect on what happens. So this Mars retrograde, this energy, I've tried to capture what it feels like on another call. I kind of gave this list of points, and I'm going to offer them up now, that if there are topics in your life where this applies, this is where that Mars retrograde is hitting you. Give me every last detail. No more BS. Tell me what's really going on, what you really think. And through that, stuff may be hitting the fan. There are crucial pieces of information getting to the heart of some matter. And it's very possible, because remember, we're getting into those deepest parts from 0 to 30 degrees of someone just couldn't tell you. You just couldn't get this information until now. And the truth is finally coming out. And it won't get you all the way there, because we still have that little bit of Gemini left that we'll get to in March. But it's enough to work with. It's enough to see the bigger picture. And you'll fill in those last pieces later. But really, this is about then going back to like 8 degrees, right? Over time, and saying, okay, let's take these ideas and rethink through them. And we're going to move forward. And that will be in 2023. Okay, tips for thriving. So get to the heart of the matter and resist the urge to find immediate answers. You don't have to commit, especially because Mercury is like behind and you're thinking about it. So just allow in whatever way you can. If someone's pressuring you, just say, let's think about it, because we want the right answer. And starting October 22nd in 3 days, be open to those invitations to co-create, take it slowly, and reflect on what happens. And that reflecting on what happens means speaking up when it comes to those trust and vulnerability issues, because that is that Scorpio energy of that power vulnerability dynamic. And this combination of that Pluto and Saturn energy moving forward and engaging with taking charge and applying your wisdom and experience to create some kind of structure that involves the people around you, this is the time. And you will recognize, I think, that not everything that you had, did, wanted fits into that framework. So you have a little space and time, again, to let that go. So that's just for 2 weeks, or maybe a little longer. Just a reminder, the Mars retrograde workshops are coming up, 3 in Berkeley, 1 by Zoom, just a little over an hour. If you're in Compass, they're free. If you're interested at all, just send me an email, let me know, and you'll get your questions to think about for the Mars retrograde and help you to direct your intentions, your energy, your excitement, and even your frustrations, and thinking about how you're moving through that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if it's 8:53, so I'm on time. Any questions, thoughts? I've got to work on my conversation, moderator skills.
Can I see that rotation again? Can I see the channel, the rotation
again? I will do that as long as I see if there are any other questions, because I know people have schedules to work through and everything. Any thoughts? Okay.
A lot of digesting. I mean, a lot of that stuff's spot on. My mind is a little bit too porous this morning. That there are a lot of things you said throughout that was like, oh, that's why. I mean, yeah, definitely looking at different ways to interact, different types of partnership options and stuff, and there does seem to be a lot of thinking of separating out of ways of things, and yeah, that's interesting.
Thanks, Min. Great. That was great. Okay, so the replay will come out soon. Yes, Janelle.
Just super duper quickly, I am about to have a fairly important conversation in about an hour, and I feel like the energy of it is something like, go in, this is just beginning. Like what this conversation, I don't have to get it all out right today. Like this is just the opening. Okay.
Totally. Good. I hope this is helpful. Yeah. Rarely does anything have to happen overnight. There's some days where we do have to make decisions. But I think there's just a lesson in all of this astrology work as I look at it, as I see it, of wow, there's space and time to make things happen. And that is such a relief to me. And that we're not alone, right? We get to do things in connection, and this group is here to support everyone. So, okay, well, I'll send out the recording later, and let me know if you're interested in the workshop and which date. And I'm always available if you guys need me. All right. I hope you feel prepared to move through these next 2 weeks and can use this time to be open to opportunities to co-create with people. Just be sure to reflect back on those interactions and see, is it one that you want to dig in further with, or is it one that maybe you want to back off on for a bit? And if you're interested in attending one of my Mars retrograde workshops, the dates are listed below in the description. Just let me know by email or in the comment section, and we'll be in touch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.